If you've never seen a movie by director Martin Scorsese, you just haven't been to the movies in the past 25 years. His pictures include Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, The Color of Money, and Cape Fear. Those are his most commercial and mainstream movies, the ones he made for the money men who run Hollywood. He considers them the price he had to pay to make the movies he really cares about, the films that are raw, violent, and in one way or another autobiographical. Everybody says, you want to know Marty Scorsese, go see his movies. Then you'll get him.
Yeah.
And your movies are so much about anger.
Yeah.
Now, are you that real?
Always. I've been in a bad mood 25 years.
The bad mood he's been in for 25 years produced movies like Taxi Driver.
You talking to me?
And Mean Streets. Hollywood measures success by box office and Academy Awards. How do you measure success? I mean, all right, so you're not box office, and you've never.
I don't know what to say. Never got an Academy Award.
How do you measure success?
The value of the work, the satisfaction of having put everything you could into that picture, and that maybe years later, people look back at it and say it was really good.
And what they look back at is a broad range of pictures.
Cut.
From The Age of Innocence and The Last Temptation of Christ, to dark portraits of the American mafia like Goodfellas and most recently Casino.
I think Marty's the best American director we have because he is the most honest director about putting his feelings on the screen without censoring himself.
What Steven Spielberg is talking about is a movie like Raging Bull.
Bring it over. It's like a piece of charcoal. Bring it over here.
You want your steak?
Yeah, right now.
I sometimes get a little bit uncomfortable because people are saying things to each other that usually hear through walls.
Okay, happy?
That's all I want.
And yet I want to watch those scenes. I want them to slam me and knock me back, which they always do.
You never got me down, Ray. You hear me? Never got me down.
We went with you when you won an award, and as they were running clips of your movies, you were putting your
I can't watch
hair
them.
Were you embarrassed or what?
Yeah. They're too personal. I can't watch them.
It's like watching yourself up there.
Yeah, it really is. Because
Especially in those gangster movies. He grew up, like this kid did in Goodfellas, looking out his window onto the bagmen and hitmen and assorted mafia wise guys on the street in New York City's Little Italy in a neighborhood known as Murder Mile.
What Murder Mile referred to was really a situation my mother used to say all the time. Says they kill people other places and they came and dumped the bodies here.
Right here?
Yeah, and giving the neighborhood a very bad name. And I remember one night my friend Robert and I, we saw somebody lying down here. We thought it was an alcoholic, but it looked deader than that. We just looked from over there. And so one of my friends called Jimmy the cop, who was an Italian cop, was a nice guy. He came down, and sure enough, it was a murder victim, and he put a pencil in the back of his head in the hole.
The bullet hole in the
See,
back
the
of his
bullet
head?
hole, yeah,
And
yeah.
where, he was right around here?
Right about there, yeah.
Right there?
I remember it vividly. And this alley was really beautiful at night. It was dark. There was only one light. It was really film noir. I mean, at night. It was extraordinary. Now,
So extraordinary that the film noir alley found its way into his movies.
what an alley. What a great alley.
When Scorsese lived here back in the 50s, this Italian-American enclave was more Italian than American.
It was like a village, like living in a village in Europe somewhere, or in Sicily, basically.
This was his first trip back to the old neighborhood in 15 years.
Come on in.
Maria Albanese has owned the butcher shop across the street from Scorsese's old apartment building for 70 years.
Was he a good boy? He's very good, you're telling me?
As a young boy, he was so ill with asthma, he spent a lot of time indoors at the movie theater. He couldn't go outside and roughhouse with the other kids. He could only watch them from his window. And you'd be right up here, looking out.
Yeah.
The window frame was his movie screen. And while he observed life from up there, he began dreaming up films of his own. By age 9, he was sketching what movie directors call storyboards. But until he was 21, Scorsese believed his true calling was the priesthood. He even studied at the seminary for a year. You grew up in a interesting sort of vortex of violence and the mafia and the church at the same time,
Yes,
all
there-
around you.
yeah.
And you once said, and I love this quote of yours, "I am a gangster and I am a priest."
I said it to Gore Vidal one day. We were talking because we were working on a project. I said, "There's only one of two things you could be." We were joking. And my neighbor said, "You can either be a priest or a gangster." He said, "You became both." So that's where that's come out from.
And it's true.
I think as a director, you got to think like a gangster too. You have to really think of what's going to be best for the picture.
I have heard that you used to, and you'll tell me if you still do
Telephones,
this.
I hate phones.
That's what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
That you used to get so angry in the
Yeah.
making of a movie that you would smash telephones.
It's kind of satisfying.
What
actually.
do you do? You just smash them and
yeah,
break
I mean,
them?
yeah, no, that years ago I used to do that a lot but then it was ridiculous because I needed to use the phone. Quite honestly. There's a
make
couple
it
of friends
phone?
of mine reminding me. Remember the time, Marty, you had to continue the argument. You went downstairs and you put the quarter in the phone to continue the argument with the person. It was producers and stuff. Always.
Did you ever have a really knockdown drag out with a studio over something in a movie that you really absolutely cared about?
Taxi Driver was the worst.
The studio was so concerned about the stark brutality in the picture that they threatened to take it away from Scorsese and cut out the violence. And that's when Scorsese got really mad.
You want to kill people, you want to throw, you want to burn this, you want to, okay, you get crazy. I'll do this, I'll do it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't do anything.
Is it true that he once tried to enlist you to assassinate a studio executive?
Yeah, he did.
It is true?
It's
No.
true. Marty went, as I guess they say today, ballistic. Marty was pacing around the room, moving at about 8 frames a second. I could see the sprocket holes up and down his body, sprocket holes that he wanted to convert to bullet holes. And we were all, about 4 or 5 of us were in the room with Marty, just basically trying to calm him down.
Because he was serious?
Well, no, he was just nuts. He was insane. He was just, this was when art and commerce, had a head-on collision.
You get crazed, you say, how could they? We've killed it. The truth is, in a picture like that, you kill yourself to make a film like that. And there's no reason, there's no way in the world that you could let yourself believe that you could kill it in the very last stage. How could you?
It's a person almost.
Yeah, it is. And you can't betray that. You just can't. Now,
And what about the violence in his movies? There's the constant debate now as to whether violence in movies is affecting kids and making them more violent.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about that? Do you ever say, I have to pull back because I'm afraid I'm going to affect the society out there?
No, I have to say no. I've tried to portray over the years the violence as a fact of life. The way it exists in the society and with those characters that I'm making the film about. And it's got to be truthful and honest to them.
He claims his movies are different from shoot-'em-up action pictures where everyone but the bad guy gets up from a fight unscathed.
For me, it's not a matter of a violence which is clean. I think that's more dangerous.
Taxi Driver supposedly inspired John Hinckley
Yeah.
to shoot President Reagan.
Right.
What was your reaction?
Well, it's extremely felt terrible about the whole thing.
But wasn't there a whole lot of criticism?
Constant, yeah. It was a lot of
At
criticism.
that point?
Yeah, well, why there's criticism is obviously, okay, this is the kind of picture that could have set a mind that may have been unbalanced in the first place over the edge. There's something else going on, and it has to do with values, it has to do with the way those people were raised, it has to do with their family life, there's a lot of reasons. It's not that easy.
Taxi Driver survived virtually intact, but Scorsese didn't. After it was released, he began abusing drugs, eventually winding up in the hospital from a near-fatal mixture of asthma medication and cocaine.
I beat myself up so much that the doctor said, you just have to stay here until we can. They said, look, you may get a brain hemorrhage at any moment.
So you almost died.
Yes, I did die in a sense. Spiritually, went down, gone, finished. And there was no place to come. They just had to start all over again.
That's when he made Raging Bull, regarded by the nation's top film critics as a masterpiece and the best movie of the 1980s. You made about 15 or 16 movies.
Yeah, 2 documentaries in there, so it's not.
Not one love scene. Now, come on, explain this to us.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I did have a couple of them. A Wonderful Kiss and Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore between Chris Christopherson and Ellen Burstyn.
That's it, huh? One kiss.
But what a kiss. It was good. It was a nice kiss. And
Come on, explain yourself.
I don't know, you know, for me, it's...
This
it's
ain't Marty Scorsese.
Not in the films, anyway.
But now, how many wives have you had?
I've been married 4 times. The problem is really the balance and how much the partner needs, how much you're able to give. That's what it's really about.
Scorsese says he is so absorbed with his career, there's little time for much else. He lives and breathes movies every minute of every day. His home and office in Manhattan are plastered with vintage movie posters.
No, this is Gilda.
There isn't a thing about movies he doesn't know, even the ones no one's ever heard of. I'm going to ask you about some movies that, just to see if it's true what everybody says, that you know all this stuff. Okay, here we go. This Island Earth.
Oh, no, that's a very good science fiction film.
You know this one?
Yeah, it was beautiful Technicolor.
Portrait in Black.
Portrait in Black is a Universal picture made in the style of a Douglas Sirk film, but not quite as good, I think, with Lana Turner, right?
Right.
Yeah, nice color.
You are, I heard you were good at this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean,
No,
those
you're
are things
good
I
at
have no
this.
other. I have no other room in my head for anything else, unfortunately.
You told me you don't go out. You don't go out to dinner with friends anymore. You don't even go out for a walk every now and then, practically.
No, I never go for a walk.
Why?
I mean, no,
what is this?
I go to social situations.
No, but
It's
you
kind of
don't
a special
socialize
occasion.
anymore.
No,
Why?
energy and time.
He does make time for his 2 daughters and his girlfriend, actress Ileana Douglas. But as we said, his movies come first. He likes to work over and over with many of the same actors, like Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro. And he has cast his father,
That's the flavor.
himself,
Put the meter back.
even his dog. But his favorite actor is the one you're looking at, his mother, Catherine.
I love you. I want to be with you. I want to be with you.
How you doing?
Hi, sweetie.
Stay.
His father died nearly 3 years ago, and recently his mother became ill with Alzheimer's.
I won't let you go.
Yes, I know.
This must be very hard for you.
This is for you. It certainly is hard. I mean, I had hoped that it could go on longer, but what can you do? I mean, this is what happens. It's just you have to understand they were married 60 years. 60 years, and then the other partner. Sometimes people rally. Sometimes they stay around another 10, 15 years, but I don't know.
These days, Scorsese is busy preparing for his next movie, a $25 million epic about the Dalai Lama with an all-Tibetan cast.
It has to be Tibetans. What do you can't?
Can't have Robert De Niro playing the
No,
Dalai
Joe
Lama.
Pesci's not going to be in this. Joe wanted, but I said, Joe, you can't. It's not going to be Joe. You don't look. It
He
doesn't look
wanted
right.
to be the Dalai Lama?
Not the Dalai. He was wanted to be one of the other guys around.
He
I
wanted to
said,
be a
no,
monk.
You can't. Yeah, but one of the monks he wanted to be. I said, Joe, you can't. Forget it.
It wasn't too long ago that Scorsese had to fight to get the movies he wanted made. Now he has a 4-year deal with Walt Disney Studios. But if you think he's secure,
Good God.
try telling him that.
Assuming how things are going to turn out, expect the worst. It's a very Sicilian thing.